Good evening. مساء الخير. Good evening everybody. من صوت الخليج اليوم نلتقي مع اللاعب الاسترالي المحترف جاكسون فارني. How are you? It's nice to meet you here in Kuwait. And from soutalkhaleej, we take this interview with you. We start with you. What you want to say to people of soutalkhaleej and people of Kuwait?
Hi, how y'all going? It's great to be here. Thank you for this interview. It's nice to be here. I'm enjoying my time in Kuwait, first of all. It's been a great couple of weeks. There's been 3 ITF professional tournaments in the last couple of weeks. We're halfway through the 3rd and final. I've been given a couple of questions that maybe you guys are interested in. So first of all, I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm 24 years old. I've just started professional tennis again. I was studying on a tennis scholarship in America for 4 years, where I studied psychology and architecture. I spent the last year living in Germany, playing club tennis and saving up and training for this opportunity to travel the world and pursue my dreams and play as much tennis as possible. So my tennis career has led me to Kuwait, and I've been very fortunate to be able to live this dream. It really is. Kuwait was not necessarily always a place I thought, in my wildest dreams I would come to, but it's been a phenomenal experience. I met up with a ex-professional Kuwaiti tennis player in Porto, Portugal, a couple of months ago, Abdullah and he told me of Kuwait and said that it's a great opportunity to come and play and good competition, so I took his advice and I came here. I started tennis at the age of, I think, 9 or 10. At the time, I think it was a bit of fun for me, as my parents tell me I started because I was quite an energetic and angry kid, and I just wanted to, quote unquote, hit the crap out of something and really get into some sport. So I tried a number of different sports, and tennis was the one that stuck for the longest, and I just found my love and passion for it. Being out there, and very energetic sport, one that requires a lot of fitness and focus, and my heart's in the game. So I spent the last few months training up, and I've just been able to come back on the tennis tour and start my professional career again, and hopefully all goes well. Some of my favorite memories of tennis were being able to finally make the Australian Open Juniors qualifying draw, and I was sort of peaking my tennis career when I was 16 before I got injured. But and I'm remembering the feeling of playing the tennis I did when I was that age before I was injured, and turn off the road a bit, and that's my drive to keep going, and that's where I want to get to again and be the best possible player I can be. So this is the road I'm traveling, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the journey.
What the advice can you offer to young player to be professional players in future?
I can do my best. I'm still very much on the journey and figuring out the answers to this question. I think the sole and most important thing is you have to love what you do. There's a lot of difference between people that do something because it's what they've known their whole life, and people who want to do it for just the end goal. I think you have to love the process. You have to love the training. You have to love the hard yards. You have to love the losses and take the good with the bad, the wins. I think people have to, regardless of their age and regardless of what other people think of them, strive to do exactly what they want and what they love and what is, what comes from their heart, where their dreams lie. It has to come from you. The most important things that is underrated is working with your own mentality and your psychology and keeping the health there, because that's where the motivation is and the health comes from. And that's where the motivation to keep going with the training, the early hours, the long hours that's really important. So for me, you know, people who are worrying and ask me a lot of questions in terms of the money required and being alone and away from the family, and it all comes down to if you love it, you'll do it, and you have to love the process, and it really is. And putting in the hours and doing the things that people won't do so that the next day you can do what they can't do is
وياكم متابعينا على موقع قناة صوت الخليج الكويتية. Another question for you, that what the difficulties faced you and to be professional players?
All of them I just spoke about with what I can offer to advice for younger players, but I think money is definitely one. Tennis is a very expensive sport. Each week there's an entry fee and accommodation and travel costs and, you know, food and water and the necessities to play and keep going. Little things like tennis restrings and new shoes and a lot of equipment costs, they definitely run a tennis player down. For me, as I've just begun my tennis journey again, the things I've noticed are, I think something we don't think about is, you know, traveling alone, and it's a lot easier to do it with someone and travel with a partner, or travel with a doubles partner and a friend. Being on the road for me, I've chose to do this alone at the time, as I've sort of got my own path and direction and journey. And so that's definitely been quite tough, is when you're out of sync with a lot of the other players, and you know, not say staying at the hotel with the players, and you know, always traveling back and forth to the tournaments and being around that vibe. It's a real strive to keep that self-motivation to do the things by yourself and not get trapped in the social life of whatever country you're visiting in this new location and this new experience. But at the same time, it's been incredibly enlightening to I've been staying with people that I've never met before and coming to their house and staying on couches and spare rooms and being invited into these cultures that growing up I was unaware of, completely oblivious to, has been an incredible experience. It really has. And so, you know, the balance, I think, works out quite well. Apart from that, I haven't been home to see my family in 2 years, so that one's a bit tough. Yeah, little things you don't think about, like just spending the evening, you know, talking with your parents or your siblings, brother and sister, and even just playing around with your dogs at home. So it is quite tough, but it's what I want to do, and it's a hidden motivation, I find. But yeah, in the end, among all the struggles, as I said, you take the good with the bad, and to be out there in a different country every single week and meeting new people and new experiences and being able to live this life is a dream come true, and yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
نعود معكم عبر قناة صوت الخليج ونوجه أسئلة. طبعا أنا متعمدة اليوم يعني أحرجه في أسئلتي، فطبعا جاكسون اليوم مضطر يجاوبنا عبر قناة صوت الخليج الكويتية. What's about your parents? What they offer to you to be professional players?
Well, it's a tough one. I think the biggest thing my parents ever did for me was they gave me the opportunity to choose. They gave me freedom to pursue my loves as a kid. There was no pressures to pursue what my parents loved, or you know, there might have been some slight pushing into sports that my parents once knew and had competed in, but in everything, in school and religion and you know, sport being the important topic here, they gave me the opportunity to pursue what I loved, and there was no real fight. there was constant support, emotional, financial, and love above all. In the last few years, when I was a little younger, my mum would travel with me to tournaments up until I was 13, 14 years old, and then a little less. When I was 15, 16, I started traveling alone to a lot of tournaments, just sort of the closer I could with relatives or friends, and you know, it was some long nights. I remember getting back and forth between tennis courts, you know, as a young kid on the train at midnight, but having to do the same thing the next day. But even now, a bit older and okay with doing these, a little more comfortable. I think my parents allowing me to do that when I was a lot younger gave me the confidence that I have now to do this. And my mum, she's a nutritionist. She's finishing her degree at the moment. My dad has always been a great supporter of mine. Financially, he's made a lot of it happen, especially through my university in America. If I ever needed anything, he would always be there. And the constant contact, if I ever need to call anyone, is, you know, my parents are there for me. And I think knowing that in the back of my mind always is something that they've procured over the last 24 years, and for that I'm most grateful for. Yeah, greetings to my family, family and friends. There's a lot of people, tennis coaches from an early age. Naturally, all my family have always supported me. Great friends of mine through high school who gave me the support that even in hidden ways, you know, telling me that I couldn't do something, you know, pushed me a little harder. And yeah, there's being put on the spot here, a lot of names come to mind and a lot of names I'm forgetting, and it's...
نعود معكم عبر قناة صوت الخليج. يمكن أنا شوي أحب إني أتدخل في خصوصيات اللاعب الاسترالي، بسأله بس بالعربي بقول لكم بالأول: هل الزواج والحب يؤثر حياة أو احترافية اللاعب خصوصا في عالم الرياضة؟ It's the marriage or love that affects the who's wanted in professional player in his life. What you can say to Kuwaitian?
I know it's a little strange in Kuwait. I've never been married, let alone, is it 4 wives you're allowed here? So yeah, I've not been married once yet. So, but I think in my experience over the years traveling back and forth between countries, previous loves of mine, and they've definitely proved as support in my life as well as distraction. So I think you ask different players and and it serves as different things. You ask some players and they will say that their love and they need to focus all their energy on their tennis, you know, for a period, and then when, you know, that I suppose they're happy with where they are and they have time for another factor of love, to allow another love into their life, they can do that and they have time for that. But for me at the moment, previous relationships have not worked out for me, as I'm never in the same place for too long at once. My first long-term girlfriend, I was back and forth between America and Australia 2-3 times every year, and it took a big strain on both of us. So I don't know how a girlfriend would fare, let alone a wife at the moment. So, but at the moment, yeah, I'm focusing on my tennis, and if I'm very open to it. If something comes along and I can't live without it, then that's okay. And as long as the support is there for both of us. But advice to young players: it will prove as a distraction definitely, until I think you're old enough to maturely cope with both aspects of that.
معكم وفي المحطة الأخيرة مع اللاعب الاسترالي جاكسون فارني. طبعا كان لقاءنا اليوم وايد ممتع معه. أتركه يتكلم بكل راحتنا الحين بعد ما أسلم الميكروفون. تابعونا مع بعد هذا الفاصل. Let me ask you maybe it's final question that what you can do to make your dreams come true.
That's a very good question. I'm still trying to work that out, I think. Something I've learned over the years, I think what we all want to be is, you hear about it a lot, we want to be happy, and I think this comes from unlocking within ourselves what we truly want, and then solving those problems, and then achieving those things and overcoming obstacles. I've always wanted to play tennis at the highest level I possibly can. When I was much younger, I wanted to play top 100 level ATP, professional tennis player, and I think the older you get, the more pressures become. You know how old you are, and you know that correlating with how fit your body is and how your body copes with the constant stress the older it gets. So there are many of these pressures, but I think as long as you're staying honest to yourself, and that has been the biggest task, is being honest with myself and what I want and what my heart truly wants, and from those loves is the only way that true I suppose effort and motivation can perpetuate. So I think staying true to what I want and really being honest with myself is going to force and going to perpetuate the goals and achieving those things. So I hope if I keep doing what I am and pushing myself into these uncomfortable situations in countries and places and terrains that I've never been in, and competing against people I've never seen or met, and doing this in the most uncomfortable situations, that is the journey that I'm putting myself through to try and push myself to be a better player and a better person in the end.
طبعا احنا كل ما قلنا نبي ننهي معاه، هو حاب انه يزودنا في معلومات اكثر عبر قناة صوت الخليج الكويتية. Mr. Jackson, what's the next?
Plans after Kuwait. As I was saying before, I haven't been home in a couple of years, so the decision a couple of months ago was to finally get back to Australia and see my family for a little bit. So I'm making my way home to be with my little sister as she graduates high school, and see my family for December and January, a couple of months. And then after that, the plan is to head off again to, I'm planning 4 weeks in Indonesia, then India, and hopefully a couple of other countries around the Middle East again. Then I'll do a bit around Europe, maybe before Egypt, and I think I'm planning to go to Turkey and a couple of other places to finally come back to Germany for Liga tennis there, and the journey will start again, I think, and keep going back and forth in country to country, and the more I compete and the more I'm playing and training and staying on course, yeah, I think it's going to be taking a couple of months at a time. It's quite impromptu and last minute decision making, but yeah.
صوت الخليج wished you more success in your life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
معكم ايما شاه. انا حابه ارحب في لاعب التنس جاكسون فارني، وهو صديقنا في الكويت وعنده بطولة حلوة في الكويت. مرة يفوز مرة ينجح مرة يفوز، يبين باكر بالجولات. وطبعا طلب خاص من صوت الخليج اني اغني له. يلا شنو اغني له؟ شنو ممكن؟ خلينا اغنية انجليزية. أبوي مو مستعدة بس يلا. How could we leave? How could we vanish and forsake our land? This is heaven. I kept my heart right by the sun, where لاعب sweeps with the morning heron. How could I bear the sight of the weak and not have the chance to fight.
تاهير وإيما قدمت لنا بصوتها الجميل خاتمة هذا اللقاء الجميل مع جاكسون فارني. أتمنى لجاكسون التوفيق والإقامة السعيدة في دولة الكويت. وطبعا إيما فخر وفنانة كويتية متميزة وستبقى دائما على طول. أشكركم ونلقاكم في حلقة ثانية من مع المشاهير من صوت الخليج.